This 12-minute video introduces you to 9 English words from the book 1100 Words You Need to Know by Bromberg and Melvin Gordon, a top resource for boosting your vocabulary. Our aim is to expand your word choices. But this video isn't just about definitions and usage. My colleagues and I will share some cool techniques to help these words stick in your memory. So whether you're commuting, taking a break, or have a few spare moments, you can play this video and use your time effectively to enhance your English vocabulary. At the end, you'll hear a short story from the book that includes all the words we've covered. Stay tuned until the end and see if you can understand the entire paragraph.
The word for today is lenient. Lenient is an adjective. Lenient means not strict or harsh. It describes someone who is more forgiving and relaxed about rules or punishments. People use the word lenient fairly often, especially when talking about someone who is easygoing and not strict with rules or discipline. For example, they believe that judges are too lenient with terrorist suspects. They believe that judges are too lenient with terrorist suspects. Any tricks to remember this word? To remember the word lenient, you can use sound association. Think of lenient as lean in. Imagine someone leaning in close to you with a gentle and understanding attitude, showing they are not strict. This association can help you recall that lenient means being forgiving and not harsh. Lenient, lenient, lenient.
The word for today is implacable. Implacable is an adjective. Implacable means someone or something that cannot be calmed down or pacified. It describes a person or force that is relentless and unstoppable. Implacable is more commonly found in formal writing. For example, the government faces implacable opposition on the issue of nuclear waste. The government faces implacable opposition on the issue of nuclear waste. Any tricks to remember this word? To remember implacable, we can break down the word. It means not and placable as related to placate, which means to calm down or appease. To remember placate, think of playcat. Playcat. Imagine a police officer trying to play cat, acting kind and gentle, to persuade a terrorist to drop the gun. This image of the officer playing it cool to ease the tension helps you remember that placate involves making someone less angry or more peaceful. Placate, implacable, placate, implacable, placate, implacable.
The word for today is paroxysm. Paroxysm is a noun. Paroxysm means a sudden and powerful expression of strong feeling, especially one that you cannot control. For example, in a sudden paroxysm of anger, he smashed the vase against the wall. In a sudden paroxysm of anger, he smashed the vase against the wall. Any tricks to remember this word? To remember the word paroxysm, think of a para, as in parachute, which opens suddenly, and oxysm as in oxygen, which is essential for sudden bursts of activity. Imagine a parachute opening suddenly in the sky, causing a sudden rush of excitement or activity. This association can help you recall that paroxysm means a sudden, strong burst of emotion or activity. Paroxysm, paroxysm, paroxysm.
The word for today is untoward. Untoward is an adjective. Untoward means unexpected, inappropriate, or inconvenient. It can describe something troublesome, unlucky, or not favorable. The word untoward is commonly used in formal writing or literature. For example, unless anything untoward happens, we should arrive just before midday. Unless anything untoward happens, we should arrive just before midday. Any tricks to remember this word? To remember the word untoward, break it down into un and toward. Think of un as meaning not and toward as moving in the right or favorable direction. So the word untoward means not moving toward something good or expected. Untoward. Untoward. Untoward.
The word for today is skirmish. Skirmish is both a noun and a verb. Skirmish means a small, minor fight or battle, usually between small groups of soldiers or people. For example, border skirmishes between India and Pakistan were common. Border skirmishes between India and Pakistan were common. Any tricks to remember this word? To remember the word skirmish, think of it as skirt mess. Skirt mess. Imagine a brief, minor fight causing a mess with skirts, where people are pulling and pushing in a quick conflict. This sound association helps you recall that skirmish means a small, short fight or argument. Skirmish. Skirmish. Skirmish.
The word for today is delinquent. Delinquent is an adjective. Delinquent is used to describe something that is overdue or not paid on time. For example, she has been delinquent in paying her taxes. She has been delinquent in paying her taxes. Any tricks to remember this word? To remember delinquent, think of de and link. Delink. Imagine a car was attempting to tow another car. However, the chain broke, causing a delay. Delinquent. 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 The word for today is monolithic. Monolithic is an adjective. Monolithic means very large, solid, and unchanging. It can describe something like a huge rock or a big, powerful organization that doesn't change easily. For example, many citizens feel frustrated by the slow and unresponsive nature of monolithic state-run organizations. Many citizens feel frustrated by the slow and unresponsive nature of monolithic state-run organizations. Any tricks to remember this word? To remember the word monolithic, break it down into two parts. Mono means one or single, and lithic is an adjective used to describe something related to or made of stone. To remember lithic, we can use sound association. Think of the phrase little thick. Little thick sounds similar to lithic. Imagine a little thick stone or rock to help you recall that lithic means related to stone. So, combining mono and lithic, monolithic means a massive stone formation that is unchanging and solid. Lithic. Monolithic. Lithic. Monolithic. Lithic. Monolithic. The word for today is indigent. Indigent is an adjective. Indigent means very poor and unable to afford basic needs like food and shelter. Indigent is used more in formal settings. For example, we are a nonprofit agency that provides legal services to indigent clients. We are a nonprofit agency that provides legal services to indigent clients. Any tricks to remember this word? To remember the word indigent, break it down and associate it with in and dig. Imagine someone so poor that they have to dig in the ground to find food or resources. This visual association can help you recall that indigent means very poor or lacking basic necessities. Indigent. 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 The word for today is fray. Fray is both a noun and a verb. When it's a noun, it means a fight or skirmish. The most commonly used meaning of fray depends on the context, but in general everyday language, it is often used as a verb meaning to wear away or unravel, especially in reference to fabric or material. For example, I frayed the edges of my jeans since that was the fashion in those days. I frayed the edges of my jeans since that was the fashion in those days. Any tricks to remember this word? Fray sounds like pray. Imagine you need to pray when you're in a heated conflict or when something is wearing out and coming apart. So, when you hear fray, think of needing to pray because things are getting tough or falling apart. Fray. Fray. Fray.
Now let's read a short story that uses all the words we've learned today to see if you understand the story's meaning. Much Ado About Dyed Hair. Long after most schools had adopted more lenient policies regarding students' hairstyles, ours had a widely reputed showdown on their practice of prohibiting brightly dyed hair. 2 honor students, Ron Harris and Jen Chester, were sent to the principal by their French teacher, an implacable rule enforcer, who went into a paroxysm of anger when she spied the students in the hall. First it seemed like a simple case. The school would reprimand the 2 for their untoward behavior and order them to return their hair to their natural colors, or be suspended. But the students' parents decided that the school had overstepped its jurisdiction, and they took their case to the newspapers. What had started as a local skirmish now began to take on the appearance of a full-scale war.
Okay, now I'll explain the short story again using simpler words.
Long after most schools allowed more relaxed rules about students' hairstyles, our school had a famous conflict over banning brightly dyed hair. 2 honor students, Ron Harris and Jen Chester, were sent to the principal by their strict French teacher, who became very angry when she saw them in the hall. At first, it seemed like a simple matter. The school would scold the 2 students for their inappropriate behavior and tell them to change their hair back to its natural color or face suspension. But the students' parents thought the school had gone too far and took the issue to the newspapers. What started as a small local dispute now looked like it was turning into a big battle.
The tempest spills out of the teapot. Once the newspapers got the story, the case of the 2 students became a cause célèbre. Ron and Jen were interviewed, seen on TV, and regarded by their fellow students as superstars. These are not delinquents or hoods, one reporter wrote, but clean-cut American teens who are being harassed by a monolithic school system. A caustic editorial referred to the school's decision as arbitrary and inane. A false story even circulated about Ron and Jen being rock and roll performers whose indigent families needed their salaries. Finally, the Civil Liberties Union jumped into the fray with a court order, stipulating that the principal be required to show cause why the students should not be allowed to return to class.
Okay, now I'll explain the short story again using simpler words.
Once the newspapers got the story, the case of the 2 students became very popular. Ron and Jen were interviewed, seen on TV, and treated like superstars by their classmates. These are not troublemakers or bad kids, one reporter wrote, but good American teens who are being unfairly treated by a strict school system. A harsh editorial called the school's decision unfair and silly. A false story even spread about Ron and Jen being rock and roll performers whose poor families needed their money. Finally, the Civil Liberties Union got involved with a court order saying the principal had to explain why the students shouldn't be allowed back in class.
Did you catch that? If not, keep listening. I'm sure you'll be able to grasp it soon. Meanwhile, this is the end of this video. I hope you have learned something useful, and that the methods I used to help you remember the words were helpful. If you liked the video, please hit the like button, share, and subscribe. If you have another way of memorizing any of these words, please leave your comments so that we can learn from you too. Thanks.